Hello guys. Hello and welcome to myfinancesteacher.org. We're going to look again at precious metals today, but first we're going to start with the US dollar. In front of us is a daily chart of the US dollar index. Here's what I see on the chart in terms of cycles. Regarding the intermediate cycle, I think we've started this intermediate cycle in the US dollar at the end of June. This cycle has only been going on for slightly over 2 months so far. And given the normal duration of, say, around half a year, we still have, I think, some time within the advancing phase of the ongoing intermediate cycle. So in the intermediate term, over the next several weeks, I do expect to see dollar a little bit stronger. However, in the shorter term, in terms of the daily cycle, we might be in the declining phase already. In terms of the daily cycles on the US dollar, here's what I see. Looks like we've completed first daily cycle somewhere between the end of June and the middle of August. And with this large red candle on the US dollar, it looks like the second daily cycle has already topped, and we might go down for just a few days, maybe a week, well, possibly even a couple of weeks in the US dollar, and we might retest that 50-day moving average, just as we did in the previous daily cycle low. Or we might even break slightly below that 50-day moving average to reach the lower part of the Bollinger Bands. Talking about the Bollinger Bands, in the previous daily cycle top, we did poke through the top of the Bollinger Bands, just as we did so a few days ago. That is an indication of prices getting a little bit too high, and we're now most likely in correction time over the next several days. Now, talking about the gold, what do I see on the charts? Well, in terms of the intermediate cycle, we started one in the beginning of May, maybe very late in April, and this cycle has been going on for over 4 months already. So I'm afraid that the intermediate cycle will soon have to start its declining phase. Probably sometime in the mid of September, maybe by the time of that FOMC meeting, the cycle might top and start the declining phase in the intermediate sense. Looking at the daily cycles, we've had the first daily cycle from late April, early May until the very beginning of July, and we're now in the second daily cycle. But given that dollar is likely to be weak for another several days, this second daily cycle might still bring gold a little bit higher, even though there are already some indicators telling us that it might be a good time to take some profits here. Anyway, gold might still continue a little bit higher over the next several days, maybe up to 1580, possibly to 1600, who knows. But as I mentioned, sometime by second half of September, I expect the declining phase of this second short-term daily cycle to start going, and that would probably bring us to retest a 50-day moving average. That's a possibility, maybe somewhere at about 1500 or 1480. And this daily cycle decline will actually coincide with the time when dollar will have started a new advancing phase of the next short-term cycle. So next few days, weakness for the dollar as gold continues higher, and after that, once dollar bottoms and starts a new short-term rally, that's when gold will probably decline into this second daily cycle low. Talking about those indicators that tell me to be a bit cautious on gold at the moment, first of all is the normal duration for these shorter term daily cycles. The current one has already been going on for about a couple of months, and 2 months is the normal duration for these shorter term daily cycles in gold. Of course, sometimes they can stretch for a while, maybe up to 3 months or so. That's why after a few days of strength, as the dollar moves down a little bit, I think it will really be time for gold to move down into its daily cycle low within the declining phase of that short-term daily cycle. That would give us a daily cycle with over 2.5 months duration, maybe up to 3 months duration. It's already going to be a little bit long. That's one of the things that tells me we'll probably have to decline for a while sometime soon. Another indicator that tells me that gold might probably decline for a while sometime soon is this negative divergence between the higher highs on the price chart itself and the RSI. RSI doesn't confirm the higher highs. We see lower highs on the RSI. That is called a negative divergence, and that is often, sometimes or often, is an indication of price weakness coming sometime soon. And lastly, looking at the Bollinger Bands, gold price is already very close to the upper range of the Bollinger Bands. And if the gold strength continues for the next several days, we're going to poke through that Bollinger Bands a few times, which, as we've seen in early August, as well as middle of June, is an indication that the price should probably cool down for a short while. And that cool down will probably not take very long. Firstly, we need a daily cycle low relatively soon because of the normal duration for these daily cycles. And once that daily cycle finishes, we'll enter into the advancing phase of a new short-term daily cycle, the third cycle in this intermediate cycle. As some of you guys suggested in the comments, that actually might turn out to be somewhat of a huge head and shoulders pattern, giving us the next third daily cycle in the ongoing intermediate cycle in gold. I do expect something like this, as usually these declining phases within the intermediate cycle do give us some sort of a bounce and a lower low. This actually gives us a failed short-term daily cycle, where we see the previous lows broken to a lower low. The end of the ongoing intermediate cycle, which will probably happen in another couple of months or so, I think that would be a really good buying opportunity in precious metals. But at the moment, as I mentioned in my first ever update in the community section of YouTube, I'm out of all the gold related assets, possibly a little bit too early. That was around 4 days ago. I'm out of all of the gold related assets, but I still hold about a third of my silver related position. Talking about silver, as I mentioned in the past, it was time for silver to catch up a little bit with gold, and it has. Since the beginning of the intermediate rally, gold rallied for about 24% since May until the intermediate top so far, whereas silver, after it did catch up over the last couple of weeks, has rallied by over 37%. That's very, very nice. That's why I shifted most of my positions into silver from gold. That was a few weeks ago. And although I have already started to trim my positions, cut them down a little bit, I still hold a third of silver, as I said, and there might be a chance for silver to retest that mid-2016 high somewhere at about $21. We're now at about 19.5. So there is still a bit of a potential to go up, but that resistance level at somewhere between 20 and 21 would be a very strong one. Plus, we are late in the ongoing intermediate cycle. So I really think it's time to be a little bit careful with precious metals and take some profit or take most of the profits from the table. And that is what I've been doing over the last week or several days. And I have a large cash position at the moment. Looking for some suggestions of what to invest next into. Let's have a bit of a discussion going. Maybe we all can learn from the comments below. So let me know what do you think. Maybe crude oil, maybe the stock market. What do you think about those over the next several months, as precious metals probably have to cool down a little? I do have my opinions, and I will share my opinions with you as well in the upcoming videos. So stay tuned, subscribe to the channel if you haven't, hit that like button, of course, and good luck in your trades.